All right, Gosia, how's it going?
It's going good.
We're just finishing up a road trip, and we just had some huge news drop for the EV world. So many of you might have heard about news a few days ago that Ford, a few weeks ago actually now, Ford adapted Tesla's charging standard and is going to have Tesla Superchargers work with Ford vehicles. Well, huge news just dropped. A second major American auto company, Gosia, General Motors, also announced this. So huge stuff here, a lot to unpack. What does this mean for every car that's not a Tesla and the plug that those cars use, and how charging is going to work for EVs and all that? Well, we get a lot of thought, so let's get started. So Gosia, immediately, can you just introduce what we're coming back from, the experience we've just had?
Yeah, so we're coming back from a road trip from the Denver Boulder area to Lake Tahoe, and really planning our route based on the existence of not only fun national parks, but also where we can get access to some chargers in this Polestar 2. So we've mostly been stopping at Electrify America, some charge points, and some chargers that local businesses have for their customers or people traveling by.
Yeah, so Electrify America, ChargePoint, EVgo, all these stations that we've been using, Gosia, use that CCS connector, which by now I'm sure you've seen a lot of times in the Polestar. And I know you weren't, I was doing a lot of the managing the charging and stuff, but like, you've seen what a CCS cable looks like, and we can maybe flash an image here, but, right? I mean, those are pretty big things, right?
Yeah, so I remember you mentioning they're pretty bulky, especially in comparison to some other options in the EV world right now.
Yeah, so I think we walked by Tesla Superchargers on this trip. We've seen them. I mean, what's your impression of those? You didn't use them, but just walking by.
I mean, they're a charger, and it's a Tesla. There's like a little window, kind of looks shorter version of some of the Electrify America ones we've seen. They look pretty similar,
right?
But they're very common.
Yeah.
We are just leaving Moab right now, and we're kind of bummed because one fast chargers in town was shut down, and they're now planning on fixing it. And so we had to get a slower charger. We picked a hotel that had that charger so that we wouldn't come across an issue with not being able to continue on our trip, or the charger wasn't working like we thought we did.
But guess what was working in Moab?
Oh, so many Tesla chargers.
Well, at least a bank of Tesla Superchargers that exist in Moab.
Yes.
And as of now, no CCS DC fast chargers. So CCS, right, that's the non-Tesla plug. Every other car uses that, including Ford and General Motors vehicles currently. So this news, the Ford announcement combined with now GM, they're pretty similar, it seems, their commitment. It sounds like within the next year, they want access to 12,000 superchargers. So I'm guessing that's going to be the same. The Tesla, I guess, will build in some adapter too that will let at least Ford and GM customers charge at superchargers, which for our trip, Gosia, that would have been pretty sweet. I mean, for like Moab, you just mentioned, we went through Death Valley between Nevada and California. That's a really sketchy route, and I know we passed at least one Tesla Supercharger there.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
It would have made maybe a little bit more peace of mind, for sure.
Yeah, and it's interesting, Gosia, because it's not just the supercharging network, don't get me wrong, that's a huge advantage by itself. Like, that's just for EV road tripping. I know we haven't, we need to get you some experience in a Tesla or something, maybe do a Tesla road trip, but like, imagine I'm not saying all the problems of Tesla are fixed for road trips, but they really do have the supercharging network figured out. But also, every day you use that connector and that cable, I've noticed a Tesla connector is so slim and so nice. So the news is that GM, along with Ford, very similar announcements they made, right, is that they're gonna, starting in 2025 model year, I believe, so I guess at least next year, future EVs will have that Tesla port built in. Now, lots of questions here, right, Gosia? Like, if a driver buys a Ford or a GM product in 2 years, is buying one of those cars, yes, they get access to Tesla Superchargers, but now they're going to need like a $200 adapter to plug into like Electrify America, which we've been using.
Yeah.
And maybe that's not an issue, right? Maybe they can depend on superchargers alone, and those are great, but I think, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but more options is generally better, right?
Yeah, I do think so, for sure.
So coming from the world of, you drive a gas vehicle, right, a Hyundai Kona,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems to me like, just like with gas, right, we do want things to be interoperable.
Like, you mean that they're usable?
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean,
no matter
yeah, for sure.
But like, Gosia, if you're getting an electric car now with this news, do you think you'd consider like a GM or a Ford car more strongly now?
I don't know. I already thought about getting like a Chevy Bolt, just with like the price range. I personally can't justify paying for a very expensive car based off of my lifestyle and what else is important to me in my life. And I think that would definitely be a selling point versus already a tax credit for some cars are built in the States that now also have access to the superchargers, which
so you're saying the tax credit would be hugely important for your purchase, right?
For
Because
sure,
like most shoppers, right? You're shopping at a budget. You have this
falling
on a budget, as we all do, and so the tax credit makes a huge difference, right? Because if you're fully eligible, assuming right you meet all those standards, that's at least it's $3,750 or potentially up to $7,500 as a basically credit on next year's taxes.
For sure, but even if you're looking at buying like a used a vehicle, that would perhaps also include Teslas, right? But also now GM has access to those chargers as well. Versus if I were going to purchase a used non-GM or Ford, I wouldn't have that access. So that would definitely play an impact. All these moving parts play an impact, and I don't know. I feel like this news just really, for me, looks like an attempt for Tesla to become like the universal charging in the States, or just maybe even, I don't know if that's what Tesla wanted or what. But
I'll give you a hint, Gosia. They call their cable thing, the North American Charging Standard, CCS. So their intentions are on their sleeve. And when they first named it that, I think collectively most reasonable people sort of rolled their eyes because while I think everyone can agree Tesla's connector is great, there hadn't been any evidence that they actually were opening it up. But now with the Ford news, now with the GM news, General Motors doing this, it's cool. And like you said, Gosia, Bolt still on sale for a little bit.
There's some other models are coming out.
Equinox, which I know.
There's some other one too, but
there's many. The Blazer, lots of EVs that GM's coming out with.
Yeah, so there'll be other options for sure for people who are so heartbroken about the passing of the Bolt.
One more wrinkle here that's interesting. GM says this adds on to an initiative they've been doing for a little bit called Ultium 360. For some marketing translation, Ultium is just GM's name for their next platform after the Bolt that all their electric cars are built on. And Ultium 360, they want this to be like the all-encompassing charge network that works best with GM vehicles or is optimized for them in some way. But hopefully it works with other cars as well. So they made a partnership with EVgo, who I think they use one of their chargers in Salt Lake City, to build a bunch of EVgo chargers that are like Ultium ready, and that's still on the table apparently. So it sounds to me, we don't know yet, but like CCS and Tesla, like regardless of Tesla's move to make this a standard, it seems like we're gonna have to coexist for at least a little while.
Yeah, it sounds like they will be. I'm just like, I don't know, I'm just like, now I'm thinking of Europe, because I remember like Tesla, is Tesla being forced to like change their charging in Europe? Are they even in Europe? I don't even.
Yeah, they're in Europe.
Because they wanted I just remember like how Apple had to change their cables to charge your phones so that they be universal.
Non-proprietary.
Yes, non-proprietary. And would that be applying to Tesla too now, or are they?
There was impending regulation, and I believe that may be in place now, but Tesla slightly preempted it by starting in Norway, and now I think in many European countries with many superchargers already having them open. Though Gosia, that's interesting because in Europe, Tesla has already had to build in CCS to their vehicles. It was kind of easier for them. I'm not an engineer, but I know there were things in the software back end they had to change, but the actual connector that Teslas have has always been the same in Europe. Between Teslas and non-Tesla vehicles, whereas in the US we're having this debate over the you said, the connector, the actual plug part. But not to get too nerdy about it, but Gosia, what's interesting is the last few years of Teslas in the US as well, how they've spoken, if this makes sense, the language of CCS. So like they use the software part of CCS, which is why the last few model years of Teslas have been able to adapt to Electrify America and other charging stations with that $250 adapter you can buy on Tesla's site. they've been able to do that because Tesla cars now speak that CCS language as a standard. Tesla does participate in the standard, and I guess they use it this way, but they think their connector's better. It's kind of like, I think that's a great analogy, right? Apple with Lightning. Though I would argue USB-C is just better than Lightning, and so I'm kind of glad that Apple's being forced into that.
For sure, yeah.
But in this case, the proprietary Tesla standard, I personally, Gosia, can tell you, I think it's a lot better, and we should just film a short where you react to using it, because I think the minute you use it, you would see also, and you can just imagine when I tell you I'm just telling you how much nicer it is. It is. Anyone who's watching this.
Maybe I'll try. I've been enjoying being a passenger princess and just letting you handle it and just driving some shifts. But yeah, sure.
Yeah. So huge news. We really are missing a lot of details here. I just wanted to get this out super quickly as our reactions to this. I think it's super interesting. I mean, it sounds like you kind of don't have too much right now. You're not in an EV, but you would be in an EV if the price is right. You don't really have a preference over Tesla and non-Tesla, but I think you can agree that it's a good thing regardless that we're getting some form of interoperability. And my hope, Gosia, personally, is that the same way Tesla sells that adapter right now that lets you go from a Tesla port on a car to plug that Tesla into Electrify America, that this adapter situation that I assume GM and Ford are using in the meantime before their vehicles at Tesla port, that becomes, I'm sure, available to every car, because Ford and GM vehicles have used the same plug as my Polestar and Britain, right? The actual.
I feel like they would. I feel like they would almost have to. From what I understood from that press release you read out a few moments ago, it seems like by the end of 2024, they want existing vehicles to also be able to use these chargers. So if it's already CCS to a Tesla Supercharger, I feel like that should be universal to into your car, not GM. And I don't know, I feel like maybe it'll be a little bit messier. They'll do some sort of coding shenanigans to make sure.
I'm sure there's a software lock, and that's why GM and Ford made this deal. We don't know what happened in the back room, but the fact that Domino's is starting to fall, it seems like to me, and I don't think CCS as a connector, like it or not, is going anywhere anytime soon, but its relevance does seem to be more in jeopardy. And I think the charging wars really truly have begun now. So hopefully it's good for the consumer. I'm excited. I mean, now GM cars, they ditched CarPlay, which is we could make a whole video about just that. I'm not jazzed on that, but hey, at least they made this cool consumer-facing move, in my view, of moving to a newer, just a better standard. So I'm excited for that. Hope for more interoperability for everyone's sake. Please, guys, comment what you think, your thoughts on this news, whether you're a Tesla driver or a GM or Ford driver. I think it'd be super interesting to get a Tesla driver's reaction to this, because up until now, their criticism has been at the prospect of opening up their network is, we kind of like our network. Now that all these other drivers are going to use it, what if we have to wait for superchargers now because there's more congestion and other people using superchargers?
We hate that. Maybe they'll do a timed entry like they do in the lab.
In national parks,
Probably not.
Who knows? But lots of drama to come, I'm sure. But hopefully that's, I think that's breaking news. Super interesting. Wanted to share that with you all. And thank you, Gosia, for, chiming in as well.
Of course. Happy to help.
See you next time.
See you.